ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So after Vidura has inquired about the eternal time and the symptoms of this eternal time, in details he wanted to know from Maitreya Rishi. So Maitreya Rishi is replying in turn to his queries, and he is bringing about some very important facts about time. Now, all of us are seeing that in the material manifestation, three modes of material nature are very prominent. Correct? All the activities are carried out by the influence of three modes of material nature. Somebody is acting in sattva guna, somebody is acting in rajo guna, somebody is acting in tamo guna, somebody is acting in mixtures of these different gunas. So we all know activities are carried out by the influence of three modes of material nature. Activity itself is not carried by the three modes of material nature. Activity is the symptom of Atma, of the soul. Those activities which are pure activities in the spiritual world, the same activities are influenced by three modes. Not that three modes have created activities. That is not the idea. Activities are fundamental to the living entities. It is influenced by three modes in the material world. Spiritual world, activities are not influenced by the three modes. That is the difference. So what happens? This three modes interaction is brought about by Kala in turn. Activities are influenced in the material world by three modes, and three modes are interacting with each other. The influence of three mode is brought about by Kala Shakti of the Lord. What is this material manifestation? This material manifestation is nothing but the material elements, the 24 different material elements, mixture of them, and the activities created by three modes of material nature. By the interaction of three modes of material nature, influence of them, the living entities perform some activities. But behind them is Kala. By the force of Kala, these ingredients are also produced by the force of Kala. In the spiritual world, because Kala is not active, these ingredients are not produced. There everything is eternal. There is no need of producing something. Earth, water, air, fire, ether, ego. Isn't it? So by the influence of Kala, ingredients are produced, three modes of material nature are active, and activities are happening. So what is the background? Factually, the background is Kala. Background is time. Even material nature is not the background. The scientists are saying material nature is the background. What is the background? What is said here? Maitreya Rishi is explaining this very important concept. Material nature is acting by the influence of Kala. Whatever it is producing, the different ingredients it is producing, different activities it is getting manifested by the three modes of material nature, background of all of them is Kala. So what is this Kala? We heard it in the last class. What is this Kala? It is the impersonal form of the Lord. Impersonal representative of the Lord. So factually, everything is happening by the will of the Lord. Factually, in the background is the Supreme Lord. You see, if we just trace it like this, all our activities, all the ingredients are produced by material nature. But material nature is not final. Material nature is acting. Whatever is happening is because of influence of Kala. And what is Kala? Kala is the representation of the Supreme Lord, impersonal representation of the Supreme Lord. So factually in background is Krishna. Prabhupada relates this to one very important verse in Bhagavad Gita to explain how Kala is controlling Prakriti, and that Prakriti, that Kala is representation of the Lord, that we understand. So Prabhupada quotes one very important verse from Bhagavad Gita. Anyone? Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Prabhupada is saying Krishna through Kala is directing this material nature. When Krishna is saying Maya Adhyakshena, not that Krishna is involved directly here in the material world. His form as Kala is controlling all the activities. Under the direction of Kala energy of the Lord, all activities are happening. That's why you find Kala and Prakriti are two different terms. In Bhagavad Gita, we hear about how many subject matters? 5 subject matter. In that Kala is separate, Prakriti is separate. Whereas the material scientists, they have no understanding. They think Kala, Prakriti, everything is same for them. Isn't it? So here, Maitreya Rishi is making it clear. So the first point he gives is, Kala is the background of all material manifestation. It is an instrument of the Lord by which the Lord conducts this material nature. See, this is a very interesting, very important understanding. By Kala, the Lord is directing this material nature. He is conducting this material nature by Kala Shakti. And that is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, when he shows his Vishwarupa, he says, I am this Kala. And Kala is meant for, in the material world, is specifically identified as destructive force of the Lord. That is what we saw. So Prabhupada is saying this. We'll just see the translation where it says very clearly, Maitreya saying, it is the primeval source of interaction of 3 modes of material nature. Maitreya Uvacha Guna Guna Vyatikara Akaraha Nirvisheshaha Apratishthitaha Purushaha Tad Upadanam Atmanam Leelaya Asrajat. Prabhupada translates, eternal time is the primeval source of interaction of three modes of material nature. So, what is time? It is the primeval source of interaction of three modes of material nature. If time, Shakti of the Lord was not present, these three modes of material nature will not interact and give result to the different activities in the material world. You see? And nothing will happen. Just like Prabhupada gives the example. Prabhupada is saying here in the purport, the time factor is also explained like this as a representation of the Lord in many other scriptures. Like Prabhupada gives the example that it is said, in the beginning, how the material manifestation was created. What do the Vedas say? How did the Supreme Lord create the material manifestation? Sa ekshata, right? That is what it says. The Supreme Lord glanced. You see? Actually, this glancing of the Lord is the one which makes the whole material manifestation. Correct? After the glance of the Lord, the three modes of material nature, everything starts diversifying. So that is explained as the Kala Shakti of the Lord, Prabhupada says. That is the beginning of time. When the Lord glanced at the material nature, that is the beginning of the time. So, we can very clearly see that Kala is nothing but a representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, a very important thing which we can understand from this purport which Prabhupada is quoting here is that how time actually is absolute, but we calculate times relatively. Time is not having a beginning. We say the time began, time ended, isn't it? Somebody is born, his time is beginning now, his time has ended at the point of death. No. Time has no beginning, time has no end. So it is unchangeable, limitless. In the translation it says. Prabhupada says, that means what? It has no beginning and it has no end. And it is absolute. We give it a relative form. We say 5 years have passed, one moment has passed. But when we say 5 years have passed, for Brahma, it's not even a fraction of a second for him has passed. For an ant, 5 years means many lifetimes have passed. So time, the calculation of time what we do is relative. But actually it is an absolute energy of the Lord. It is absolute. It is not relative. This is another important understanding which Prabhupada is bringing about. But even though in the material world time is calculated as relative, Prabhupada says it is very meaningful in human form of life. Manifestation of time, even though it is calculated as relative, it will have a beginning, it will have an end for us. One day our life begins, one day our life will end. Our time starts at some moment, our time ends at some moment. But still, it is very meaningful in human form of life. Prabhupada is quoting in purport from Chanakya Pandit. Chanakya Pandit says, it's a very interesting verse which he has quoted. He says, Ayushaha shana eko api na labhya swarna koti bihi. A moment's time of your duration of life, a moment. Why is he saying shana? Prabhupada explains. Not a question of hours, not a question of 1 year. Suppose sometimes we say, my 1 year is gone, my 2 years are wasted. Prabhupada says, Chanakya Pandit is pointing out that even one moment of your life, if it is wasted, if it is gone, with Swarna Kotibi, millions of Swarna Kotibi, you cannot get back a fraction of second. Forget about getting back your 1 year, 2 year, my childhood is gone, my childhood I want back, my youthhood is gone. Chanakya Pandit is saying time is so valuable, one moment you cannot get back. Not hours, not days, not years. That is impossible. Even one moment you cannot get back. Even if you want to pay all the wealth you have got at your stake, I want the one moment which has passed away, let me get back. It is not possible. So just imagine how important is time. But the same time is not very important in the life of an animal. He is wandering throughout the day, he is wasting his time, his moments are passing, years are passing, what is the use? The Vedic literature says, a tree is living for thousands of years, he is also breathing, we are also breathing, and we are also living for a long duration of time, let us say. And the tree is living many, many years more than all of us. Prabhupada gives the example, in Calcutta if you go, in that botanical garden, there is a tree living from 500, 600 years. At the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at that time that tree would have been there. Until today that tree may be living. Isn't it? But what is the value of it? It's 500 years, it is standing at that place. What is the value? Isn't it? So this is what we should understand. The value of time comes into picture only in human form of life. And that is why the Vedic literatures from the very beginning are pointing out, array, millions of life you have spent, 84 lakh species you have crossed over. In that there was no value of time. You may have lived for 1,000 years, you may have lived for one moment, you may have lived for one day. What does it matter? In this human form of life, you try to understand the value of time. That one moment, if it is past, your so much loss in your life has gone. If you have not utilized that one moment of your life. That one moment you cannot get back. Even with whatever wealth you may possess. You see? That is why Bhagavatam, repeatedly it is saying, Rishabdev is pointing out to his sons, why are you loitering and working hard like donkeys? That is not the aim of human form of life. You have already labored like donkeys in donkey's life. In animal life, you have already labored like this. Human life is not meant for that. Human life is meant for understanding. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where do I go after leaving this world? These important queries can be asked only in human form of life, not in any other form of life. That's what we see in the life of Prahlad Maharaj. He understood this fact. He realized this fact. He never used to waste his time. He knew every moment is precious. Prabhupada gives that example. Prahlad Maharaj actually realized the value of time. That's why even in interval, when interval used to happen, he never used to go out and waste his time in playing. And today we have so many, even we may not be playing outside, we have WhatsApp, we will be playing in that. We have internet, whole day we can be playing and wasting our life in that. Isn't it? How people used to, Vedic literature is saying in playing, today the play may not be like in the playground we don't find many people playing. But you will find them playing with all machines and computers and internet, isn't it? Wasting time. Not understanding. See how Prahlad Maharaj, even interval he never used to waste. He'll call all his friends, gather them and preach them about Krishna consciousness. And that is when he says, Komaram acharet pragno dharman bhagavatam iha. He says, don't think when I will become old, that time I will try to become Krishna conscious. Human life is so rare. After many millions of life, you have got this rare human form of life, and you are saying, when I become old, I will try to practice Krishna consciousness. Isn't it? He says, at the time when prajna starts, when little consciousness starts, when you start understanding things, Komaram, from that age itself, you should try to become Krishna conscious. He's saying, don't waste time. In the childhood, we are like an animal, isn't it? That time we cannot understand. But at least from the age of Komara, when consciousness dawns, when we are able to grasp certain things, from that time itself, we should start training ourselves to become Krishna conscious. We should start gaining intelligence. Komaram acharet pragno. Prabhupada explains what is the meaning of pragno. From the Komara age, you should become intelligent. Pragna means intelligent. From that age, we should take up Krishna consciousness. What is the meaning of intelligence? Intelligence means to become Krishna conscious. That is real intelligence. Kaumaram acharet pragno dharman bhagavatam iha. From that time you should practice Bhagavat dharma. Dharman bhagavatam iha. Why? Next, what does he say? Why you should practice from Kaumaram? He gives the understanding. What is the next line? He says, Durlabham manusham janma. Why it is important to practice from Kumaram? How many years you are going to live? Isn't it? Human life, hardly you are going to live for 60 years, 70 years. If you waste your time from Kumaram, your life will be over very soon. So better to practice from Kumaram. Durlabham manusham janma. Human form of life we get after many millions of life. It is very durlabha. And then he points out that somebody may say, okay, human form of life is durlabha, but what is the so great about human life? All other lives are also temporary. Dog is also going to die, isn't it? Tree living for hundreds of years, that is also going to die one day. And human life will also be finished one day. So Prahlad Maharaj points out, yes, that is a fact. Our life is also adhruvam. Adhruvam means it is also temporary. Like any other life, it is temporary. Still it is valuable. Still it is durlabham. Still it is rare. He says, adhruvam api arthadam. Even though human life is also temporary like any other life, but human life is meaningful. Why it is meaningful? In this human life, we can practice Bhagavata Dharma. In human life, in this small span of life, we can become completely Krishna conscious. That is why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to be so much, he used to say it so many times. This life should be your last life. Don't wait for next life. Do not think next life I will get a better body. I am in a woman body, not able to practice properly. Let me get another kind of good body. I am in a poverty condition of life, not able to practice properly. Isn't it? Confused state of mind I am in, not able to practice. Let me get a better life in the next. There is nothing called so-called better life. We are seeing people are born in Brahmanical family, people are born in aristocratic family. They have no problem of eating, sleeping, but still we don't find them practicing Krishna consciousness. It is so rare, isn't it? Practicing Krishna consciousness is very rare. Don't lose this opportunity. Somehow by the grace of Prabhupada, by grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the grace of the Lord, the seed of bhakti is there, isn't it? No doubt, it will never be lost. But why wait? We do not know how many more lives we may have to take. There is no guarantee that after this life I will go back to Godhead. Isn't it? So that's why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur he used to say, and Prabhupada used to repeat that. This lifetime we should take the determination to go back to Godhead. Don't wait for next lifetime. Isn't it? So, Prabhupada points this out. I'll just read one very important thing where Prabhupada explains that how this time factor, the devotee should be able to realize the importance of this time factor. Not get distracted, not get disheartened. Oh, what is this time? One day I am born, one day I will be lost. Rather recognize the importance of this valuable gift of human life. That actually this human life the Lord has given as a gift to me so that I can practice this Krishna consciousness in whatever time I may have. It does not matter. Isn't it? I was reading one, I think it's a letter or it's a conversation of Prabhupada. Maybe I'll sometime give it to you. I don't remember the exact words. It's very interesting. Prabhupada says, Prabhupada is pointing out to some of his disciples. Prabhupada is telling that you have another 30 years more to live, at least minimum. So they were around 20s at that time. And Prabhupada says, this is more than enough to become completely Krishna conscious. I am an old man. I don't have much time. Prabhupada is giving that example. You are all young people. You are having another, at least minimum, Prabhupada is saying, 20, 30 years you are having more. And Prabhupada is saying that is more than enough to become perfect in Krishna consciousness. So let us see what Prabhupada is saying. Go by that. Isn't it? A pure devotee of the Lord is saying within 20 years, whatever another 20 years we have got, let us practice sincerely and seriously Krishna consciousness and try to go back to Godhead. So what it depends upon is how seriously we take it and how not to become, so-called, we live in and over a period of time we lose the whole value of Krishna consciousness and we just keep on practicing it mechanically. Whereas Bhagavatam is saying we have to practice Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, intense devotional service. But after some time we find we lose that intensity, isn't it? Why we lose that intensity? It's the same example. Just like sometimes you'll find Prabhupada used to give the example. When you're living very close to the railway station, we are the first one to lose the train. Isn't it? If you are living very close to the railway station, the people who are living very far, they will be very careful. Isn't it? 1 hour it will take for me. Isn't it? Better I should leave 1 hour before. We are very near, we are thinking any time. कभी भी चले जाएंगे. पास में है, 2 मिनट का रास्ता है. वो 2 मिनट करते करते ट्रेन निकल जाएगी. So, very important to always remember. This is another instruction of Chanakya Pandit. If you want to be serious in spiritual life, smar nityam anityatam. We say always remember Krishna. He is saying always remember the temporary nature of the material world. Otherwise, you will not be able to remember always Krishna. 2 things you have to simultaneously understand, isn't it? Otherwise, we will try to live just like this. बहुत है अभी जिंदगी, चलेगा. अभी सो लेता हूँ. Let me sleep. Let me waste time. No. When we understand, any moment, we are seeing. Even in the devotees community or in our near and dear ones, we are seeing how the life passes by. Somebody gets a heart attack, gone. Not even practically, they had no symptoms earlier at all that they had some kind of sickness or something. Life is like that. Any moment it will pass away. So at least rather than trying to focus on some temporary problems which we are having, isn't it? I am not getting adjusted with the situation, I am not getting adjusted with the service. We should forget all that things and understand in the long run what is more important is not all these small trying to solve these petty problems of life. Most important is to solve this most important problem of life. That this human life will pass away one day. Where do we know? Tomorrow I am there or I am not there. What time I am having, let me utilize that time and seriously try to become Krishna conscious. So I'll just read that. Very important few lines are there and then we will close that. So Prabhupada is quoting. Chanakya Pandit says, time is so valuable. If you pay millions of golden coins, you cannot get back even a moment. What is lost for good. Nachen nirarthakam nitihi. If you such valuable time spoil for nothing without any profit, nacha hanis tato adhika. Just imagine how much you are losing, how greatly you are a loser. The thing which you cannot get back by paying millions of dollars, if that is lost for nothing, how much you are losing, just imagine. You see? Prabhupada is trying to make us understand the value of time. That thing which you cannot get back even by paying millions of dollars, if you lose that, just imagine how much great loser you are. You see, that is the meaning of understanding the value of time in this human form of life. And that is what Prahlad Maharaj is saying, same thing, that even though this human form of life is temporary, whatever time we have got, but it is still very, very meaningful. So we'll stop with this. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.